So about a week ago, I made a video in regards to Sam Bradford going to the Vikings. Sam Bradford used to play for Oklahoma. We got the news that he was going to the Vikings the same day we had the 5.6 earthquake in Oklahoma. It was also the opening Saturday for the college football. I've mentioned a whole lot of stuff to all of these interrelated stories that have been going on in the media and how they all connect back to each other. Anyway, in this video, I talked about how the earthquake on September 3rd had a big connection to the 1989 World Series with the San Francisco Giants playing the Oakland Athletics, and it had the earthquake. And I talked about how in Gematria the word earthquake equals 44, and the earthquake on 9/3 happened 44 days before the anniversary of that earthquake in 1989. And what's interesting is, out of all these interrelated stories, I talked about like Nebraska and how there's a whole bunch of coding to the 1971 championship when they beat LSU. And then LSU went to Wisconsin and they lost. And the big thing in regards to that was Wisconsin's quarterback is named Bart Houston. And Houston has been a very big area of topic because Super Bowl 51 will be played in Houston. That same day, Houston upset Sam Bradford's old team, Oklahoma. Anyway, the series in 1989 was also known as the Bart Series. And I've been talking a whole lot about how the Chicago Cubs seem to be very, very loaded up this year. A lot of things connect to the Chicago Cubs. And, you know, it reminds me a lot of the Steve Bartman incident that happened. The Steve Bartman incident, if you don't know, was when the Cubs were playing the Marlins, and if they would have won, they would have went to the World Series. And Steve Bartman got in the way of Moises Alou trying to catch a foul ball, and then the Cubs ended up losing, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot more interesting stuff I'll talk about. It was on October 14th of 2003. But anyway, let's just start this video off. I want to show the clip of what happened. I mean, if you watch this, there's other people grabbing for the ball too. The whole incident, the whole media story involved around it, it's all planned, you know? It's all for a reason. It's all coded by the numbers, which I'm going to show in this video. So, let's just watch this video. You know, even funnier, MLB.com here on YouTube, they make the video 54 seconds long. The word baseball equals 54. The first Major League Baseball game ever was played on 5/4 of 1871, and it was 5 months, 4 days before the Great Chicago Fire in 1871. On 10/8, and the Cubs haven't won the World Series in 108 years. The Willis Tower in Chicago is 108 stories tall. It's Chicago's 145th season right now. If you write out Chicago, Illinois equals 105. If you write out 145, it equals 108. There's 108 double stitches on a baseball. Lots of 108 stuff connected to the Chicago Cubs. But anyway, let's look at this video here.
Close to fan interference right there. The umpire's all over it. The umpire right down there, Mike Jeffords on the play. If Alou has to reach into the stands, it's fair game for the fans to catch the ball.
I mean, honestly, how can they only be mad at just this guy? It doesn't really make that much sense. So, I know I've talked about this guy before, but let's go back and look at some stuff. So, the earthquake, like I said, this year, the earthquake on 9/3 happened 41 days before the anniversary of the Steve Bartman incident happening. It's actually 41 days before the 13th anniversary. The 13th prime number is 41. If you write out Steve Bartman in Gematria, Steve Bartman equals 41. He's even wearing a shirt that says Renegade. Renegade in Gematria equals 41. Just the word Bart equals 41. They were playing the Marlins. Marlins equal 41. If you write out the word 41, it equals 46, just like Chicago Cubs the small way, just like the word sacrifice. And in regards to Chicago, think about Super Bowl 20 when Chicago won with 46 points using the new revolutionary 4-6 defense. I mean, super planned by the numbers. Just like I've had so many examples of this. Just watch my previous videos, tons of examples of how pretty much everything you've ever believed is scripted by the numbers. So anyway, when I was thinking of Steve Bartman, you know, Bart Simpson, and remember the song Bartman, do the Bartman and all that? I went and watched the Bartman YouTube video. It even has this image in it when Bart is in jail, and it's A113. Now, how interesting is that Steve Bartman was sitting in seat 113? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Super planned, they coded in movies. In regards to the Bart series, this song came out on November 20th, 1990, which was literally 1 year, 1 month, 3 days, a lot like 113, before or after that earthquake happened. So that earthquake happened 1 year, 1 month, 3 days before the Bartman song came out. Just to put it in perspective. So Steve Bartman, the reason that happened supposedly is because the Cubs are cursed by the curse of the billy goat. And I mean, you can't make this stuff up. In Gematria, if you write out curse of the billy goat, it equals 88. The Steve Bartman incident, after that happened, the Marlins went on to score 8 runs in the 8th inning, and that's why they won the game. Another 88. That same year, it was the Cubs' 88th season at Wrigley Field, and the Cubs even won 88 regular season games. Talk about being cursed by the billy goat that year. That was all supposed to happen. So anyway, I looked up the voice of Bart Simpson, and because of the Bartman and whatnot, the voice of Bart Simpson is Nancy Jean Cartwright. If you write her name out in Gematria, it equals 88. I mean, oh, the odds. But one of the things in regards to this year that makes it seem like it's a positive thing and not a bad thing is, look, she was born on October 25th, 1957, which means on the Game 1 of the World Series this year, she will turn 59 years old. And she was born in the year 57. The word World Series, or the phrase World Series, equals 57. And also she'll be 59 years old. And remember, in Back to the Future, the Cubs swept Miami, and the Steve Bartman incident happened against Florida, the Marlins as well. If you write out Back to the Future, it equals 59 in Gematria. Last year, the Kansas City Royals won, and not the Cubs. Kansas City Royals equals 59, just like Back to the Future. The Cubs got knocked out of the playoffs on Back to the Future Day. I mean, how do people not think about that and wonder if it's all set up? Anyway, another interesting thing is that she's 58 years old right now, and the Steve Bartman incident happened 58 seasons after the curse of the billy goat. And this lady, it even says that she did minor work in Back to the Future 2, the movie that came out in 1989. Even connecting to the 1989 World Series, the Bart series. And look how long Back to the Future 2 is. 108 minutes. You can't make that up. Back to the Future 3 also came out on the 145th day of the year. And think about the curse of the billy goat. You have to go 88 miles an hour in Back to the Future to time travel. You know, the curse of the billy goat equals 88. A ton of predictive programming in these Back to the Future movies, and super connected to the Cubs. I've mentioned a whole lot in regards to Back to the Future 3 because they go back to the year 1885, which is 131 years ago. Then they use train number 131 to push the DeLorean back to 1985. And I mean, there's just been all kinds of 1985 references in sports. There's been all kinds of train symbolism going on in the media. All the Amtrak derailments, Jared from Subway, the French train attack. Think about last year. The Royals were the team in 1985 who won the World Series. That's how I was almost positive the Super Bowl was going to be connected to the 85 Bears. I knew the Bears weren't going to win the Super Bowl, but I knew it was definitely connected months before. And then, of course, you got the Super Bowl with the Panthers, who had a coach who was on the 85 Bears. There was all kinds of symbolism to the 85 Bears. There was just super connected to the 85 Bears. Even the college national championship, the total score was 85. You had the quarterback from Alabama wearing the 85 wristband. Then Villanova wins the college basketball championship for the first time since 1985. Even in basketball, the Cleveland Cavaliers upset the Warriors for back-to-back championships, just like how the Lakers got upset for back-to-back championships in the year 85. And there's a whole lot more to that, but just know all of the championships were connected to 1985. Even the Iowa Hawkeyes had a season very identical to their 1985 season. I even talked a whole lot about Nebraska Cornhuskers and how they were super connected. And think about Michigan, or they were connected to the movie Teen Wolf that also has Michael J. Fox. And think about the Michigan Wolverines, and they got Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh in the 1985 season went on to beat Nebraska in the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, seriously, just a lot of stuff going on. Even in regards to Back to the Future equaling 59, sorry to get off topic. If you write out 59, it equals 108, just like 145. The movie's 108 minutes long. Cubs haven't won in 108 seasons. The Great Chicago Fire happened on 10/8. Wrigley equals 45 in Gematria. Cubs were cursed in the year 45. Cubs equals 45. Illinois equals 45. And Back to the Future, they were supposed to beat Miami. Miami equals 45. Or the Marlins, who they lost to in the Steve Bartman incident. The big way, Wrigley equals 99. And the Steve Bartman incident was the 99th World Series that they missed. If you write out 113, like the seat that he was sitting in, it equals 99. The Marlins even had 91 regular season wins that year. If you write out Chicago Cubs the big way, it equals 91. Also that same year, the Red Sox lost due to their curse, and they were both 5 outs away from making the World Series and then lost, and they had to go to a 7-game series, and then they lost in the 7 games. Just think about that. 5 outs for making the World Series. Then they both lose in Game 7. World Series equals 57. So, I mean, just totally connected to the 88, the curse of the Billy Goat. If the Cubs don't make the World Series this year, I want to show something that just came out the other day when they clinched their playoff spot on, of course, the 145th game of the season. Go figure, Chicago, Illinois equals 145, the Cubs in their 145th season. Anyway, in this game, they beat the Cardinals 7-0, and the player of the game was Rizzo with 2 home runs to help the Cubs. And it just makes me wonder, when I look this guy up, look when he was born. He was born on 8/8 of 1989. So, I mean, seriously, he's born on 8/8. The curse of the Billy Goat equals 88. Steve Bartman incident happens in their 88th season at Wrigley when they had 88 regular season wins. If it was 8/8 of 88, I would say absolutely no way. But it's 8/8 of 89, once again reminding us of the Bart series, though. But one of the things that makes me wonder if they're going to break the curse is just for the fact that there's so much else that lines up with the Cubs this year. Possibly the 88 will be a positive thing in regards to the 145 and all the 108 stuff. But the score of the game was even 7-0, which makes me wonder, because right now, the curse of the Billy Goat happened 70 years ago until October 6th this year. So 70 years ago, they clinched the playoff spot with a game of a score 7-0. Anyway, Anthony Rizzo then, look how he became a Chicago Cub. He got traded to the Cubs for this guy right here, Andrew Kashner. And just interesting, he's born on September 11th of all days. But when you write his name out in gematria, Andrew Burton Kashner, it equals 88, 223. Curse of the Billy Goat equals 88 and 223. So just interesting, they get rid of a guy who is, fits the curse, and then they pick up another guy who was born on 8-8, which fits the curse as well. One of the things that makes me wonder as well is if you write out Anthony Vincent Rizzo equals 191, just like New York Yankees. So, wouldn't doubt if you see him on the Yankees at some point in his career. But a big trade this year in regards to the Cubs was the Chapman trade from the Yankees. I have a whole video on that. I'll leave it in the description. I believe it was 112 days, or the 112th day of the season that the Cubs got Chapman. We're going into the 112th World Series. Rizzo in gematria equals 40. Billy Goat equals 40. Houston also equals 40, which just reminds me of Super Bowl 51. Houston, the big way, equals 112. And, a couple of nights ago, Houston won their game against Cincinnati. They had the two back-to-back pick sixes, and it gave them 40 points. I mean, come on. So, just wanted to show some extra stuff about the Steve Bartman incident and why the Cubs lost that year because of the curse of the Billy Goat. And I think the Cubs are going to at least make the World Series this year. But if they don't, remember this happening, and remember Anthony Rizzo and the 88 connection. But I just think there's so much other stuff aligned to the Cubs that they're going to make the World Series, and possibly the 88 connection is a good thing this year. One other thing in regards to 88, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the last time that they won the World Series was in 1988. You can find it here, 1988. And also, Vin Scully, the longtime announcer for the Dodgers and whatnot, he's going to be retiring at the end of the regular season, or on October 2nd will be his last game, and he is 88 years old. So, definitely some stuff to think about. We'll see if we get any more stories and how they connect and whatnot. With the S exception, Los Angeles Dodgers even equals 91, just like Chicago Cubs. So, seems fitting if the Cubs are cursed by the Billy Goat still with the 88 stuff. Seems fitting if the Dodgers would upset them. But we'll see how it goes. Just keep watching it. Gonna leave it at that. Have a good one.